Are you ready, dude?
I've been ready.
Okay.
Today. Sorry. Fuck. Can we restart that
I
one?
feel like I forgot because I thought you just said I'm the Fright and you didn't say anything after. Did you say anything after? You did,
No.
I think.
No,
oh,
I
you
didn't.
didn't?
No.
Oh, okay. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Fright or Flight. Forgot what I came after that. Welcome back, dear listeners, to Fright or Flight, the podcast where we rank, recap, and review every horror movie in a given franchise.
I'm Geraldine, a.k.a. Jumpscare Jer, the Fright of the podcast.
And I'm Frankie. I'm the Flight of the podcast.
Today, we're talking about Saw 3, where Jigsaw takes till death do us part. Those wedding vows that we all know and love to a whole new level.
So, dear listeners, let's cut to the chase. Saw 3 is a carnival of carnage you won't soon forget. Imagine a world where sadistic puzzles are just another day at the office, and your boss is a puppet on a tricycle. Yes, that's the reality our victims face.
Your boy Jigsaw, the undisputed master of mixing life lessons with torture, is back. This time, he's got a terminal brain tumor, but also a terminal case of creativity. His apprentice, Amanda, is in charge of picking out the perfect Pandora's boxes for our unfortunate souls.
Enter our victims, a father drowning in sorrow seeking vengeance for his son, and a doctor who's about to experience malpractice like never before.
The real star of the show? The traps. There's a shotgun collar that'll blow your mind and your head. A rack that turns a human into a pretzel, and a pig vat. That's, well, as disgusting as it sounds. Plus, let's not forget the infamous angel trap, a device that guarantees you'll never sing baby back ribs again.
As for the moral of the story, it's simple. Life is precious, but Jigsaw's twisted brand of therapy is priceless. Saw 3 serves up a heaping helping of pain, puzzles, and poetic justice. So take a deep breath and join us as we navigate the maze of gore, games, and good old-fashioned grisly fun. Geraldine, we have watched 3 movies now in the Saw franchise.
We sure have.
And that's a lot. That's a trilogy.
That is a trilogy. Especially as somebody who hasn't watched a lot of them, I was excited to just delve into it.
Something interesting about this movie is that it was kind of made to be like the last movie in a way. Not really. But like I said before, James Wan and Leigh Whannell, the people who are behind the franchise creation in general, they never planned for any sequels. And this is the last movie that Leigh Whannell has a part in writing for the film.
Wow, I did not know that. That's very exciting. I imagine because here soon after, Leigh Whannell and James Wan partner for a lot of different movies in the horror industry because this is a dynamic duo. And
Yes.
if I had to guess, they're probably headed towards the Insidious franchise.
Yes, that's in the horizon. Now, you said they're a dynamic duo.
Yeah, they are.
Hopefully we'll reach such heights one day, you and I.
Hell yeah.
And we'll be a director and writer on like a movie.
That would be dope. Keep
That'd
your
be
eyes
sick.
peeled, my
Yeah.
friends.
Now, I want to talk about the landscape of when this movie came out. It came out in 2006.
2006.
So like I said before, every year they're coming out with a new one. Mm-hmm. And so this is the third one, 2004, 2005, 2006.
That's wild.
So
They're pumping movie out after movie.
Every Halloween you can expect a Saw movie. The landscape is that it's 2006, the Nintendo Wii.
Bro, does that not make you feel old?
Has released in America. No, but I do remember and really enjoy the commercials of like we would like to play. Do you remember those?
I do remember those. I really enjoyed the Nintendo Wii, and I was very jealous of any of my friends who did have it. And for a long time, we did not have it.
I really like playing a Wii Sports.
My favorite thing about it was the Rabbids game. I don't know why I loved the Rabbids so much, but I
Yeah.
also equate it with my love with the Minions. I think it's their chaos and their
Yeah.
not understandable language that it makes me really happy.
You're kind of like a rabbit in real life.
Well, according to my boyfriend, I'm like a Facebook mom for my love for the Minions.
The Minions, yeah.
But I don't know. I think they're funny, and I think Rabbids are funny too.
As far as movies goes, Night at the Museum
Love that movie.
and Pixar's Cars was released this year.
Ka-chow.
Do you like the Owen Wilson?
I love Cars.
Yeah.
My name is Mater, like tomato, but without the "t," you know?
That just came so easily off your tongue.
Yeah, I know.
Makes sense.
It's my southern
Yes.
my southern heritage, apparently.
2006, also the year that country and yodeling child prodigy Mason Ramsey is born.
What? Wow,
That
what a
little Walmart
year.
kid? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's him. Yeah, you and I have both actually seen him live, if you
We
remember.
have seen him live.
Yes. He came out and he had a little rope.
Yep, that was fun. It was a good
really
time.
cool. As far as music that was popular at the time, Bad Day by Daniel Powter.
Great song.
You're familiar with it?
Cause you had a bad day. Great
That's
song.
the one, yep. Crazy by Gnarls Barkley.
Hands down one of my favorites ever.
It's a great tune, yeah.
Yeah.
Great production, great vocals, just an amazing song. And my favorite of the three, Hips Don't Lie by Shakira.
I say this about I made a joke because I went to the chiropractor and found out that I have sciatic nerve pain a long time ago, and it's because my sciatic nerve is being pinched because my hips are misaligned. So I made a joke about the song title and was like, "Oh, my hips are misaligned," or something like that. It was really stupid, but in the moment it was funny. A lot funnier if you were there.
You
but
just had to be
You just
there.
had to be there,
Yeah.
guys. But it was
Did you
funny.
say this to your chiropractor or whoever?
No.
Oh, you should have said to them.
No, listen, I've tried to make jokes to my doctors before, and they, a lot of the time, don't have a sense of humor.
Who would have
Yikes.
thought 8 years of medical school and $200,000 in debt will do that to you, huh?
Yeah. Tough crowd, you know?
Yep. That makes this movie 17 years old. So this movie came out.
Holy
all that
F.
stuff that I just mentioned happened 17 years ago. Me and you were elementary schoolers at the time.
Yeah. It's 2006. I
Yes.
was 7 turning 8.
Yeah,
Because my birthday's at the very end of the year.
that's right. My birthday goes to the beginning. I think that would make me 9 to 10. I'm not sure.
Probably.
But yeah, we were both in elementary school. I like the idea of us crossing paths in elementary school.
Yeah.
And like us like already like being on the verge of like doing a podcast.
Yeah.
But as like tiny little people.
You know what's funny is I did get in trouble all the time for talking. All the time growing up.
That does not surprise me.
They would always move me, and I'd still find somebody to talk to.
You're a chatterbox.
I am a chatterbox. Like, if I know you, get to know me, baby, because you're about to know everything about me.
Yeah, like all the times you shit the bed.
No, I'm not Captain Spaulding. I don't be doing any of that. But anyway, that's a reference to House of a Thousand Corpses, which you haven't seen yet, but you will at some point soon.
It'll come
and we'll
down the
talk
line.
about it on the podcast soon too.
All right, now here's our recap.
Grief can leave you frozen. Every toy, every book in young Dylan's room is kept just like he left it. His dad, Jeff, made sure of it. It's bittersweet. Jeff trails back and forth in his room, in his mind, remembering the driver that took his son away from him. Vengeance owns his soul. He's completely consumed by it. He has no time for his daughter. His wife has already left him, but no matter. All he wants now is to exact his revenge, and soon he'll have his opportunity. Suddenly, he's awake, trapped, no clue where he is. Pushing against the walls, he knocks himself and the apparent wooden crate he's in onto the floor, freeing him. He is in an underground warehouse with nowhere to go but straight, room to room. He enters the first room. It's a freezer. A woman, completely nude, hangs by her wrists from the ceiling. She's blue, completely frosted over, begging for help. A tape reveals her identity. She was the only witness of Dylan's murder, but when it came time to testify, she didn't take the stand. Now it's Jeff's decision to take a stand for her life. There's a key behind some frozen bars right out of Jeff's reach, but if he really pushes himself through the pain of the cold, he can save her. Water sprayers start pouring and misting their agony onto the woman. Jeff hesitates, but ultimately gets the key, but by the time he runs up to the woman, it's too late. She's completely frozen. When Jeff tries touching her, the ice starts cracking apart, so he leaves the room. A giant, deep vat lays in the second room. At the bottom is the tied-up judge that gave the driver a light sentence. Pig carcasses on a conveyor belt start emptying into a shredder, spewing out all of their shreds of waste into the vat the judge is tied up to. Slowly, the judge will be drowned by the brown slush of pig flesh. Jeff is the one that gets to decide punishment this time, but the key to unlock the judge is in a cage, along with all of Dylan's toys. all the physical embodiments of Dylan that Jeff has left are in what turns out to be an incinerator. If Jeff flips the switch, he'll gain access to the key, but he'll be saying goodbye to another piece of his son forever in the process. He agonizingly flips the switch and saves the judge. The third and final room is the ultimate test for Jeff. He finds himself face to face with his son's killer. Slowly, the gears of this trap start twisting the arms and legs of the driver that took Jeff's son away from him. The ankle twists so far, snapping the Achilles out from its skin and in two from the rest of his leg. Jeff has his opportunity to forgive, but as always, it's a price. Reaching into a box and grabbing the keys triggers a shotgun blast. Jeff does so, but he's not the one to face the shotgun blast. The judge is accidental collateral and immediately dies from his wound. Jeff goes to unlock and release his newly forgiven friend, but it's too late. His head was twisted like an owl by the gears he was locked in. Jeff is given a gun by his trial and continues on. Meanwhile, a woman is abducted from a hospital. Lynn is brought into Jigsaw's lair, rolled in by Amanda herself. John's not doing too hot, attached to his bed and hooked up to several medical machines. Amanda demands that Lynn keep Jigsaw alive for her own sake. For Amanda has attached a shotgun collar to her neck. The apparatus is directly connected to his heart monitor. If he flatlines, all the shotgun shells in her collar will be hammered, blowing her brains out. "There's too much pressure in his head," says Lynn. "He needs surgery. He needs a hospital." Amanda says, "No, you'll do it here." They scrape up hardware tools for Lynn to use instead of her typical medical tools and begin the bloody mess of a surgery, drilling and sawing through his skull to expose his brain and relieve him of the pressure. The whole ordeal makes Amanda queasy. She can't handle it. She resorts to her tried and true form of self-harm, slicing her thighs with a razor. Lynn was told she'll be released if she keeps Jigsaw alive long enough for another victim to finish their trial, and now they have. But Amanda doesn't want to let her go. She's grown jealous of Lynn. She and Jigsaw argue. She disputes his philosophy, saying none of these people deserve to live. Jigsaw begs her to reconsider, but she shoots Lynn in the stomach as she tries to leave. Lynn falls out of the room and lands in Jeff's hands, who turns out to be her husband. Jeff runs into the room and shoots Amanda in vengeance, then sets his wife down to sit. Jigsaw explains to Amanda that this test has been hers all along to prove her allegiance. He also explains to Jeff that he's the one that put him through all this, giving Jeff one last opportunity to forgive Jigsaw and let go, or to use any tool in the room to feed his need for revenge. Jeff lays a hand on Jigsaw's chest and says, "I forgive you," then proceeds to pick up an electric saw and slices through Jigsaw's neck. He doesn't know Lynn's life is connected to Jigsaw's. The collar locks all the shotgun shells on her collar and the hammers all trigger, blowing her head off. Jeff is distraught and the door behind him shuts and locks. A tape begins to play. Jigsaw tells Jeff he made the wrong decision and that his daughter is locked away and only Jigsaw could help him save her. Game over.
All right, Geraldine, that's our recap. I wanted to talk to you about how this movie was made for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's the third movie in the franchise. The first one was directed by James Wan.
Yep.
And the second one was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who also directs this one.
Yeah, he did a great job.
That's right. Greg Hoffman is a producer who worked on the previous two films, and he died after the second film was released.
Wow.
So Lee, James, and Darren all got together for lunch one day, and one of the characters in this movie was actually named after him. If you remember Detective Hoffman, very early, has a brief scene where when they go into the classroom trap, and he's one of the people taking notes and analyzing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I like that they're out there, dedicating roles to people, because that happens a lot. You see, at the end of an episode or something, like tribute to such and such, or for such and such, because somebody on the production had passed away or something.
We love a good tribute because, your life is not forever on this universe.
That's true. And it's unfortunate that when, because it takes a while for things to turn around as far as like from filming to release.
Yes.
Like some things are filmed 2 or 3 years before it ever even sees an audience or anything.
Especially I'm noticing nowadays, like a lot of these movies that are releasing now began filming during COVID-19, like the break of that pandemic in 2020, which is crazy to me that some of these people have been sitting on these projects like since then.
Yeah. And just the idea of somebody like, working on something and if they pass away before it releases, like a lot of time they would have never gotten the opportunity to actually see it.
Yep.
Luckily, I think he did. Like Hoffman did get a chance to see all the films that he worked on because he died after Saw 2 was released.
Gotcha.
So that's fortunate for him.
R.I.P. Hoffman.
Bossman said that they did not intend to have a twist ending for this movie. So I don't know. To me, obviously, it was
formula.
a twist.
It felt like once like in the Scream franchise, they have this fun little formula, like this whodunit thing.
Yes.
It felt like that's kind of part of the Saw formula, and I feel like it's like necessary for those films to have a twist now.
Well,
and whether it's like something super crazy or not, like I mean, a lot of the twists that were in here, I mean, some of them I did kind of predict because, like I said, I'm a thinker when I'm watching something, trying to figure it out. But the final twist I did not see coming, and it was crazy town.
Well, Darren said that, quote, I think most people will figure it out in the first 15 minutes of the film. And I did not personally.
I didn't either. I figured it out kind of somewhere towards the middle of the film, and they did a good job, like kind of like patching things together. And
I agree. I feel like this really tied in a lot of things. Lee Winnell said, what Darren and I struck for Saw 3 was to have an emotionally impactful ending.
It is emotionally impactful. This movie was like heavy.
Yes, this movie is very emotional. I feel like the first one was it was all about the concept. Yeah. It was all about the two people in a room tied up in chains. Yeah. This movie, I feel like, was about the characters. And I feel like we spend all our time with like this main core of characters and really getting to know them personally.
Yep. And there's a lot of like little side characters that you're also hoping for. But I'm a firm believer, similar to how I felt watching any of the Game of Thrones series. Don't get attached to anybody in the Saw franchise. I've learned quickly.
Yeah, they tend to die.
Yeah, they tend to die, but that's kind of the game, literally, that they play.
It's hard to survive this.
It's hard to survive at all, and it seems...
Yeah, in this economy, I mean, inflation...
Is that the game that we're playing now? John Kramer, are you behind all of this?
The Jigsaw behind inflation. Now, this movie did get a larger budget. Like, the first Saw movie was $1 million. The second Saw film was $4 million. This movie, we upgraded to $10 million, which is 10 times the original budget of the first film.
You know what? You could kind of see that. The traps that they used in this movie were fucking gnarly.
They were so gnarly. I think this movie features a lot of the gnarliest, like you said, grossest traps. And the most, I think, for me, visceral. Yes. Like, you see ones that I'm like, oh, I can kind of like, feel it in my bones while I'm watching it.
Yes, like watching it was tough because I was like, oh God, like please God, no, please make it stop. Like this, let him survive
there were parts where I had to close. I couldn't watch it. I didn't watch like a good stretch of a certain scene that we'll talk about later in relation to a surgery that goes on in the movie.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was hard to watch. The filming of this movie was done in 27 days.
Wow.
Yeah, something interesting that I will say that you probably don't know is I mentioned you did before when they filmed the first Saw movie, they destroyed the bathroom set because they didn't think they were ever going to make as much money as they did. They didn't think they were going to get a sequel.
With the money that they had.
So they destroyed it. The second film, they recreated it. Mm-hmm. But I think something happened to it. I'm not sure if they destroyed it again, which would have been dumb in my opinion.
But kind of funny. Like, third time's a charm.
But for whatever reason, they didn't have access to it. Mm-hmm. But somebody else recreated the bathroom set already.
It looked perfect. It literally looked pristine.
Because that same year, they filmed Scary Movie 4, which parodied the original Saw film, so they recreated the bathroom. And so for Saw 3, they just asked those guys, the scary movie guys, if they can just use that set to record the scene.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, that's really funny. I've never seen the scary movies.
Okay, we need to get you to watch all of the movies that are being referenced in those movies beforehand so that you can understand all of the jokes.
So excited. Maybe we can get somebody who knows, or maybe I can find it online. And maybe we don't have to watch them all in a row. Maybe we could do like a yearly thing. Like, I watch all of them to be able to watch the first scary movie, which I think honestly, is mostly just Scream.
Mostly Scream based, but there's definitely I Know What You Did Last Summer in that one as well. It's such a good time. Even like my boyfriend Patrick enjoys them. Like they're cheesy, they're stupid, but they're a dumb good time.
This movie made a bunch of money, just like the last two. Like I said, it had a budget of $10 million, and it ended up grossing a total of $164 million.
If that doesn't tell you anything about this franchise, I don't know what will. Genuinely.
Yes. I mean, like I said, I love these movies. And Geraldine, I didn't want to tell you last time because I wasn't sure if I wanted to like affect what you would think anticipating of this movie. Okay. This is my favorite Saw movie.
Really?
Yes, Saw 3 is my favorite. I've always liked it a lot. I keep on telling you that I'm a big fan of this series, but I saw the movies super long ago. It's been a long time. So, when you grow older, you kind of realize what you like about things a little more. Yeah. And sometimes you go back and watch something and you don't like it as much. Yeah. Or it's like, oh, what did I see in that?
Did you like this one more going back?
It stood up. It really did. I think when I was younger, I recognized that it had an emotional twang to it. Like I said, Lou Winnell said earlier about having an emotional impact. I felt it as a kid. This movie was super tragic.
So tragic.
And I love tragic things. I love sad music. I love theatrical, like over the top, performances.
Well, that's what this movie is. It's not only is it just horrific and gruesome and terrible, it's also like so sad and disturbing, and it really pulls on your heartstrings. And I mean, it has so many different layers to it that still hold up today. Like, there's a lot of things that could be paralleled to our society today that are just really, really big messages that you're like, man, this is deep.
Yeah,
like if
really
you're like, if I'm in their shoes, what would I do, kind of thing.
So the movie starts off where we left off in the last one. Now, do you care about stuff like this? Does that have any significance? Movies that are like, oh, this is where we just were the last movie.
I love it. I live for it. I love continuity. I think we've talked about this. That was my biggest gripe with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film franchise, is that a lot of them, a lot of the time, don't tie in together that way. And it frustrates me, especially chronologically. Thematically, I like a good something, or like a good story that either begins where it ends or vice versa. It's nice for everything to come full circle, and I'm like, I can breathe. They've done their job. They've done their work.
Something happened to you at a young age to make this you like things to fit into their little squares or whatever.
I just like stories, and I mean, I'm not an avid reader as I once was back when I was.
What were you reading? Like billboard signs?
No, when I was younger, I read more books than I do now as an adult, and I just liked a really good story. Here was a testament though, Clifford. And here was a testament. I'm just trying to figure out. That's a good story, but just so many different things. Like, for example, Coraline was one of my favorite books growing up, and books to movies anyway are tough to do, but we'll get into that another day. But so many different things, even if it's a series of books, like the Twilight series, anything like that.
You've read the Twilight books?
I read 2 out of 4 of them. You know what? If it's a good story and it really entices me and I'm involved in it, I will not be able to put it down for a good anywhere between 2 days to a week, and that's a good amount of time for me to read a book. But if I'm bored with it, it will take me as long as possible to read the book.
All right, quick aside from all the Saw stuff, I just want to talk about the podcast in general real quick. Now, of course, a big part of horror movies in general is the Universal monsters.
Yes,
you got the
Universal
vampires
monsters
and the werewolf, Dracula, all that kind of thing. I think horror now is so different. I mean, Saw is nowhere close to werewolves or anything like that.
Those are more fantastical creatures anyway. They're not really. That's kind of like sci-fi horror. If I had to really give it a category,
it's super classic. All the imagery is like black and white. But
I love a good black and white.
So where does Twilight land in the realm of horror? Like, there's vampires. Are they just adjacent? Like, obviously, maybe they're not horror films.
Here's an umbrella category of vampires. They fall somewhere along the line, but it's not horror to me at all.
So we've never covered it on the podcast, you think?
I don't think we'd ever cover it on the podcast.
Unless you guys want to hear it.
Unless we wanted to do teeny bopper kind of like family. Not family. It's not really family friendly. The first one might be a little bit more family friendly than the other ones, but I don't know. Maybe one day if there's popular demand for it, but I doubt it.
We'll have to talk about it. But yeah, what do you think about seeing Detective Hoffman again? He doesn't slice through his leg; he smashes it.
I will do a quick little side note. You know what you could do? You guys could do this on Bookish and the Beast Twilight series. Bookish and the Beast, our sister podcast.
Yes, there's a podcast. It's a couples book club podcast that I'm on with my lovely girlfriend. She's fantastic, and she likes to read a lot of books. And I think she's read all the Twilight books.
I believe so. Her name's Bailey. She's also a streamer, Wolfie Fiesta. You should check her out. We also just did a podcast episode with her talking about Haunted Mansion, the old one, 2003 edition, and the newest one from 2023. You should go listen to it.
Yeah, but that is a smart place to check out Twilight. And are you a fan of the Twilight films?
I am a fan of the Twilight films.
Okay, then maybe we could do like another little crossover.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Anyway, the leg. You say that again. The question with the leg, because I got sidetracked making sure that I talked about Bookish and the Beast.
So unlike Dr. Gordon, Hoffman decides instead of cutting his leg off, he smashes it.
Good choice.
You're with the smashing.
Solid choice.
Do you think you could do it though?
Absolutely not. I would rot in there. I would die. I would simply be dead.
Yeah, same. Not gonna lie.
I don't want to hurt myself.
It looks too painful. Like I said, I think on the first episode, I said that I think I'd rather saw it off because I don't think I could smash it off, and especially because I feel like your brain kind of keeps you from hurting yourself a lot of the time. So like if you wanted to break your own finger, for example, like it wouldn't be super hard once you actually come to terms of like doing it. But with the foot, you have to do it a lot of times, and then he had to like snap it so it would fit through the cuff. So I just feel like I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, I was genuinely like, I didn't know. I was like going through this torment with him, and I was like, oh no, he's not gonna do it. He's not gonna do it. And then he does the thing with his foot, and then I was like, yeah, I don't think I could go through that at all. Yeah, so I was like, rough. I don't really blame him either for not cutting it off either. So big ouchie.
After this, we go into the classroom trap. Very difficult thing. At first, I was like, okay, this is easy. Like, he just swinging his ankles, swinging his arms, and the hooks that are tied to his skin are just falling off.
But
then I saw some of the other ones. He had, like, chains inside the palm of his hand, feet, and jaw.
I would say,
Yeah, I could do that. Some of them, like the ones that were clipped onto the pieces of his skin, were super easy. He just kind of had to swing his arms and legs.
This is a gross tidbit about me, but I'm going to say it anyway, and everyone can shame me. And that's fine. Go for it.
I'm doing it preemptively.
I tend to pick my own hangnails on my fingernails, around my fingernails. So, like, I'll, like...
I don't know what a hangnail is.
So, like, for example, you can probably look and see them now. Like, little flaps of skin that kind of...
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like, hang up. I'll pick at them, and sometimes I ended up pulling more skin than anticipated, too.
How much skin?
Like, sometimes it'll go around my cuticle, and then I'm in pain.
Are you devastated when that happens?
Yeah, I don't like that. It does that sometimes, but I still do it. How often this is? I mean, I do it regularly. It's like I pick my nails, the skin around my nails a lot.
You bite your nails?
I don't bite my nails, but I pick the skin around them. So as far as like doing that, probably I could do that easily because I do that to my skin every day anyway. Used to. But some of the other ones, like the behind the Achilles heel, absolutely not.
That looks harsh.
And the jaw,
that one is impossible, right?
I'd have to just be like, okay, I'm gonna close my eyes and I'm just gonna run the opposite direction and just see what happens.
Yeah, just completely, and hope to God that all the chains break off.
Yeah, because then I'd just be like, and then I'd fall back and I'd probably just die anyway.
Well, you would have, because apparently that door was wielded shut. So even if Troy was able to get all the chains off, he wouldn't be able to leave the room that had the bomb in it.
That's not how Jigsaw operates, though. So
Was your brain already working before the film as far as that was concerned? That, like, these traps, a lot of them don't look like you can solve them.
Well, I mean, then why even offer for them to solve them? I don't understand the intent. Like, do you just want them to die? Because, I mean, later in the film, John Kramer says, I don't condone murder. I'm not a murderer.
He said he hates murderers.
Yeah, which is clearly big. But then one of the big twists of the movies that we find out is that Amanda has been willingly murdering people and making it far too impossible for them to escape. So it leads me to believe that this one was another one led by Amanda.
Now, I love the character development for Amanda in general. Like, Shawnee Smith, oh my gosh, her performance was so incredible in this movie. She was
my God,
so
killer.
like just on the screen, giving it her all. Like,
I was like, yes, queen.
yes,
the
a
whole
lot of
time.
intensities. I love Amanda. She's especially in this movie. I think she's absolutely great. Now, I will criticize though. This is kind of like a Rooks Goldberg machine way of killing people. Like, you put so much complexity into killing somebody who's gonna die anyway.
You know what it makes me think of? You probably haven't seen the series, but I want to say it anyway, just because if anybody at home has seen it.
Okay.
The New Girl, the little sitcom. Have you seen it with Zooey Deschanel at all?
Yeah.
So it reminds me of Winston, because they call him, like, he calls himself Prank Sinatra, right? And he's like, we're gonna do this prank, and everyone on the show is always like, no, Winston, you either go way too small or way too big. And it reminds me at the very end of the series, which is not a spoiler, it's been out for many years. If you haven't seen the series, I'm sorry, go watch it.
Yeah.
He pranks them all into thinking that their building is being like sold off and it's being like foreclosed, so they literally have to leave. And it's just a prank. And they all like move out and put all of their stuff in like this big moving truck. And then when they close the truck, his face is on the back of it. And he's like, you got pranked, basically. So another way too big prank. It's kind of like that, but with Amanda. And it's like,
a little,
damn, girl.
much. Like, she could have just killed all these people.
Just do that if that's what your intent is. Don't just torture them and kill them.
What are the scenes in this movie that I remember always bothered me as a kid? Like I told you in the first one, I really like Adam. And in this movie, you get a scene seeing what happened to Adam. And that Amanda went back there and then put like a plastic veil over him. Like, what's it called? Asphyxiation?
Yeah, she just choked him to death with like a bag or something.
Yeah, basically. And I was like, no. Adam like looked like he had a chance after the first Saw movie to live. And this is like confirmation, like, no, Adam's gone. Because I know in the last movie, Saw 2, you see his dead corpse like rotting in the corner. But this one, like, 100% confirms Adam is dead.
It's so cool, the tie-ins that they do with the first film, because so much of it, you think, oh man, this is all John Kramer. But you don't know how much of it Amanda is behind the scenes.
This movie reveals, like, Amanda's been, like, in the corner.
She's been in the corner the whole time.
Yeah, it's super cool that they've recreated that, showing, like, him putting the makeup on and, like, sitting down, putting the blood in the bathroom.
I just wonder what their dynamic is, because it is, especially in this movie, it's a little bit hard to interpret, because it almost seems like there's a romantic touch to it, but there's also, maybe father-daughter kind of touch, and I don't quite know, because it could be either, it could be both.
Yeah. That's
maybe John Kramer is daddy. I don't know.
Yeah, that happens a lot. It's 2023. We live in a progressive time.
We do live in a progressive time.
So I will say, for me, I interpret it a lot more as father-daughter, and also at times just like master and apprentice kind of thing. Like, she really seeks validation from him.
Yes, she does.
Very strongly. And she gets jealous in this movie.
That's why I had a really hard time knowing what the dynamic was, because I was like, typically father-daughter, at least in my experience, I ain't jealous of anybody trying to help I
know that's a thing with kids in general, though. Like, if their parent gets a boyfriend or girlfriend, they feel like they're competing for attention.
So my dad had girlfriends growing up, and I never once felt like I was competing for attention. But I will say, one time I heard one of my old step siblings call my dad like call my dad daddy, and I was like, that's not your fucking dad, basically.
Wow, why?
But I don't know. Because I'm like, why was I like that?
Yeah.
I did it the one time, and then they never called him that again.
That's so funny. That's so
And I
messed
was
up.
like, that is messed up. Because,
Yeah.
like, why? Why was I so upset?
Yeah.
But, you know,
Very territorial, Geraldine.
that was the only time that I ever got that way, you know? And that was just that one moment. And after that, it's never happened again. Because my dad has, again, since had girlfriends and stuff. And I'm like, cool, happy for you, whatever. But I would get mad if they had bad intentions. So I guess in a way I can kind of relate to that, where I just want to protect.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
That's fair enough.
But rather, like, not in like a jealous way, more like don't be mean to my dad kind of thing. But
Yeah.
also I do that with my own mom. Like, I get protective of my family.
Mm-hmm.
That's just who I am as a person. Like, I want to protect everybody. I just want to take everyone and, like, scoop them close to me and just hug them all, you know?
You think they'd reciprocate that?
Some people would definitely be like, no. Especially my cats. They're that way. They like to push away from me, even though I love them so much.
Sometimes you push a little too hard.
Yeah, a little bit.
I really like the scene where Carrie, one of the detectives working on the case, since the
yes.
first movie, by the way, she's been in all three. I don't know if you remember in the first movie, she was with Detective Tapp and Singh when they were checking out the maze, the razor maze trap.
I did not remember that.
She
Holy
was in
shit.
that. And in the second movie, she was
I knew she was in the second movie, and then I
revealed
was
to
like,
be the
okay.
one who Detective Matthews was cheating with.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this movie, she's like the Saw case lady. Like, she's the one that works with all the different traps.
She's been studying him. Mm-hmm. Apparently not too good. She didn't see it coming for herself.
Yeah, but I feel like her trap was very unfair. Also,
Unfair.
The way she was kidnapped was also so creepy.
Oh my
but
God,
cool
yes.
cinematography.
Yeah.
Like, she was like just watching the tape of like when he's like, I want to play a game.
Yep.
You've been always yada yada yada. And she's watching it, and then it cuts to seeing herself
in her bedroom, which
in the
is
TV.
terrifying.
And when she looks into the closet, we get the perspective from the TV,
Mm-hmm.
and we see that there's a pig in there, and then scoops her up.
Terrifying. Of course, Amanda, we love it, but also hate it because I don't think, like, her trap was definitely not fair in the slightest. Her
So messed
trap
up, too.
was so cool, though.
Being like having like this whole mechanism attached to your ribs.
Ow.
Holy crap! Now
Like-
that's rough.
Yeah.
Yes. And also on top of that, she had to put her hand inside like this acidic, like eroding
It felt impossible.
acid to find a key to unlock this rib trap. And she does it though. She does a very harrowing thing, and like she ends up just digging her hand into the acid, grabbing the key. She takes the whole thing off, pulls it from her rib. She tries, but she can't get it off
For nothing.
for nothing. And then the time runs out, and it just blasts her chest open.
Which was super unfair because she beat it.
She did. She was supposed to make it there.
And then, of course, it's revealed that Amanda walks up and she's like, you.
Yeah, it is a funny little like moment her performance there. Where obviously it's supposed to lead the audience to be like, who is she talking about? Did you know it was Amanda immediately?
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah.
I kind of figured. There wasn't a lot of suspense, especially with the wardrobe that she's kind of been set to wear. Most of the things that she usually will wear, the low-rise jeans. And like,
Those were so big at the time.
they were so big at the time.
Yeah.
And now people like have tried to bring them back, but they're really not back. Please don't bring back low-rise.
You don't like the low rise.
No, I got a muffin top. I'm not trying to sport that. I like the high-waistedness, but I
Yeah.
feel like I can hide it a little bit more. And it accentuates curves. So bring back the high-waisted jeans. You know what? Just bring back the 50s and 60s like fashion. I am down for that. That's a good time for fashion. Not a good time for anything like being a woman, but
not good for domestic abuse.
Yeah, no.
Speaking of domestic, we get to see Jeff, kind of like I'd say our protagonist, one of two protagonists, and he is this man who is absolutely distraught, devastated from the loss of his son.
Which rightfully so. When you find out that's why he's there, I was like, what the fuck kind of reason is this to bring him here? That's kind of unfair. He's just sad. He's upset. I would be.
Yes, but I will say he's like neglecting his daughter.
Yeah,
neglecting his wife.
especially emotionally.
Yes, I mean it's so messed up because, I mean, could you imagine being the girl there? Like, one, you lost your brother, and two, your dad doesn't care about you. Not seemingly. All he cares about is the son that he lost.
And finding the killer, and like not killer, finding the guy who hit them because it was a hit and run accident,
right?
And like bringing them to justice. And it's like, I understand. So I mean, in a big way, this movie is so centered around the theme of forgiveness and letting go, which is really cool. Yes. Really, really cool, because again, very paralleled to how we are today. A lot of people. I think
we need that. We need to learn to forgive and let go. And I think, don't get me wrong, it's hard.
It's
especially when you've been wronged.
Yeah.
When people have done this to you, but a lot of the time, the best thing to do for yourself is to forgive and let go.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's eating him up so much that he is losing sight of the things that are important to him, and it caused him to lose sight of things that were important to him. So before we meet Jeff, we actually meet Chris and Lynn, and they're in bed and they look unhappy. They're like an unhappy couple. She's getting ready to go to work. She takes an antidepressant, but we don't know that that's what it is yet. And she's not really talking to her husband, and he's like, so that's it? And she's like, what now, basically? Like, there's just not a lot of communication here. It's very, very strained, very upsetting. You're just like, this is uncomfortable. They are definitely not the couple you want to bring on a double date.
No, that's not fun.
It's not fun. And then he's like, basically, I want a divorce. And then she has to go to work like that. And apparently she's a good doctor. But you can definitely tell that it's impacting her work. And then she goes to like this locker room. Boom. Amanda kidnaps her.
Yes. And now I love this character. Lynn is such a, like, I don't know what about her makes her so honestly, between the both of them. Like, I'm an emotional guy, so seeing this emotional man upset and devastated over his loss, like, I'm immediately connected. Yeah. I'm so tapped into like, oh, this is an emotional story.
Typically, what's so funny is in movies when like when there's a tragedy like that, like when parents lose a child, in the movies, the way that the couple is depicted at that, like they are so like torn from that loss that they end up separating, which we do end up ultimately seeing at some point in this movie. But we see the mom being the one the most affected, the way that they portray couples, not the dad. So this is definitely a new take on it.
Yeah, it's not one we see as often, and he is so like I said, just like tunnel vision, upset and angry.
Obsessive.
Obsessed, completely obsessed, yeah. He keeps his son's room exactly the same as he left it. He gets mad at his daughter when she tries to, take a little stuffed animal that used to belong to him, which, like I said before, she's also grieving. Yeah. So she probably, has some sort of connection with this animal too, but their dad is so upset that he just takes it away from her.
You know what? I really, that poor little girl, she gonna need lots of therapy, like years and years of therapy. Yeah. But yeah, Jeff and Lynn. So of course, whenever we meet Lynn and then we see that John Kramer is on a hospital bed and he's in pain and stuff, he's like, I'm dying. Yeah. I'm like, they're gonna make her operate. I knew it.
Crazy because they do, Geraldine, and it's so messed up. Kramer, I don't know if you remember, like, in the second movie, what did you think? Did you think Jigsaw was dead by the end of it, or do you think he was just really beat up? Because some people thought he was dead.
I thought he was just very beat up, especially if, like, the way that they made it seem like Amanda, she's like, I'm carrying on his work. They make it seem like he didn't survive that, but I was like, he's got cancer. He's not like dead yet. Right. Like sometimes it's a slow burning disease. Yes. But like he just got beat up. I'm sure he could easily patch that up. He's Jigsaw. Right.
In this movie, it does appear like he's on his last leg. Like he is. Yeah. And that's why they got Lynn. Lynn's here to help operate to keep him alive, apparently, until Jeff goes through all his dilemmas. And now Lynn gets a trap of her own. She gets placed this, like, I don't even know what to call it.
It's like it looks like they look like gun compartments.
It looks like shotgun shells.
But like around the neck, but without like the barrels, it looks like.
Yeah, it's a shotgun collar.
Yeah. It's very cool.
It's super cool. I look super. I love.
It's definitely not my favorite though. Out of all of them in the movie, I think that it's okay. It's cool. But
it's super gnarly. I would honestly enjoy wearing it just as like a fashion piece. It looks really gnarly. Obviously,
could you imagine
not a loaded
run
one.
like a Halloween like runway thing, and they just do a line inspired by Jigsaw traps?
That'd be so
That'd
cool.
be so dope.
Yeah,
I
do
would
that.
pay good money to see a show
Would
like
you
that.
participate?
Yes, I would.
Yes. Okay.
But I
would
wouldn't
too.
want any of the traps to actually be like real or anything.
Oh, of course
No, I
not,
don't want to
no.
die. I want to keep
Yeah.
my life. I just want to be like a fashion hoe.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, like somebody with a reverse bear trap.
With a
coming out.
reverse bear trap and some sleigh outfit. Yeah, that'd be dope.
I really like it. Now, so she has to just keep him alive during all this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the scenes that we get that is so gnarly. This is the one scene for me that I could not watch in the movie. Is he starts having seizures, coughing up blood,
Yeah.
and she has to release some like air
Oh,
from
man.
his skull.
Mm-hmm.
So to get that, she like shaves his head off, takes the skin off, and cuts through his skull with like power tools.
Which is what they would do in an actual hospital.
And it's just so like you see all of it. Like
Yeah.
Like Grey's Anatomy has nothing on this. Like it's crazy.
You know what's funny is when I would watch Grey's Anatomy, I convinced myself. I was like, you know what? I think I could be a doctor. And I was like,
What the
no.
heck are you talking about?
I'm afraid of blood. Who am I? Why would I try to convince myself that
Yeah.
I would be into that?
You were deceiving yourself.
I was deceiving myself. But, I mean, TV show and movie stuff does not really bother me that badly. It's really like, I know, in my brain, I know it's fake. So
Yeah.
it's, it's okay. So
Fair
I
enough.
was
But
just.
in a real hospital.
But the whole seizure, the real hospitals, hell no. Too sterile and scary.
Yeah.
Like the whole seizure scene when he was like seizing up and like coding and stuff, I was like, and of course Amanda was frozen with fear, which is like
it shook her up.
my trauma response: the fight, the flight, or the freeze. I am a freeze girly or a flight. I would run away typically.
Right, yeah. Which is kind of what Amanda did. She froze and then stepped away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So relatable. Jeff, meanwhile, goes through his traps. I think it's so interesting. This one, we saw in the second one that we're all in a house together.
Yeah.
The first one was just two guys in the bathroom. This one is just one guy going like from room to room. And on all the traps, he goes through 3 traps. And all 3 of them, there's like, this movie has a lot to do, like you said, with forgiveness. And it's all putting all your future in the hands of somebody else.
Which is tough. But he ultimately, like, you see so much growth. There's not a lot of sometimes the time works against him, but he does try, if that makes sense.
He gives it an attempt, but sometimes I'm not quite sure like how hard he's trying. Like a part of him like is trying, but a part of him keeps him from trying hard enough to save them.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever, don't get me wrong, I've had that experience in real life too, where like, oh, I have to make this work with this one person to like make this project work out or something. Sometimes I'm like, I know she's kind of annoying sometimes. She can be a little loud sometimes, but if I just get through this, maybe there's something on the horizon or something like
Interesting, because it sounds like you're talking about me.
that. No, there's a lot of people. It's just coincidental here,
Oh, okay.
And so it makes sense to me. Like sometimes there's a part of you that keeps you from being like your best self. And I feel like that was keeping him like subconsciously from saving these people.
Right. So the first person, like this trap was, oh my God, I could feel the cold. I could feel it. So we get in there. She's naked as hell. This woman named Danica. Apparently
What a
she
name.
was I love the name.
Whose name is Danica?
It
sounds like a weather girl name.
Well, I
to
know
me.
there's like a race car driver named Danica Patrick.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
So we go in there. She's butt ass naked, like literally full frontal.
Full frontal.
We literally can see everything.
Yes.
Which was surprising for me. I was like, whoa, okay.
Yes. Now I don't think, is this the first time we've gotten any kind of nudity in a soft film?
I think so, like full frontal like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is not sexy at all because she's in a freezer room.
Freezer, and then they pour they have a sprinkler. They're sprinkling water all over.
Cold water on it.
Cold water.
Oh, I don't like going outside in the winter. I don't like leaving my bed when it's too cold.
I mean, I like cold weather. I like snow, but I don't like getting so cold. Like that's one thing about like snowball fights and stuff. That's really fun. You're like, yeah, snowball fights, aesthetic. It's so fun. It's so nice, and the nice crisp and the crunch of the like a fresh fresh like area of snow, and you can just step in it. Oh, it is a nice sound.
I've always had this idea of running outside naked when it's like ice freezing cold.
I want you to do. Can you do that for us this year if we do get a snow?
If we get snow, you want me to run outside butt ass naked?
Do it, and then don't video it though, because we don't want to like video things. Purposes,
I feel like first of all, it's dangerous. I've heard there's people that do this though.
There's people who actually go out in like bathing suits. Like I know women. I've seen women go out in like bikinis and just run out and then go back inside. Why would you do it? I don't know.
Go to like Alaska or like cool places and then jump into the water.
Frick no, I would never do that.
It's like, I think it's some sort of therapy or it's an adrenaline thing. But I know people can die from it.
Well, yeah, but you know, I think, I don't know, but there's something about a nice like fresh fallen like ground of snow. It's beautiful, untouched snow. It's like kind of sparkly. It's really pretty. Okay. And then the nice crunch of the snow.
I want to put something on blast.
Nice. Okay.
You're a Southern girly, so maybe you experienced this too.
Okay.
So I might be critiquing you here. I don't know. But, you know, we live here in the South, and I've come across a few families now where they eat something that they call snow cream.
I don't make snow cream. I've never made it. It sounds interesting, but I've never made it.
They take, I don't know what it is really. Maybe it's just snow.
I think they take it, but I think you have to boil it too, though.
Nobody does that.
Okay, well, you're supposed to be boiling that kind of shit. You're supposed to boil that shit because there's all this kind of gunk in there. That's gross. My head.
So when I hear it, I'm always like, y'all are eating pee-pee right now. Like somebody peed in that snow. And
you know what it makes me think of, those hearing snow cream? It makes me think of Monsters, Inc., where he's like, who wants snow cones? And it's like yellow and it's like lemon flavored or something.
No, I do like lemon flavored.
I do like lemon flavored as well.
Was it pee?
I don't know. It's just a little movie on Disney.
Okay.
I mean, it's Monsters, Inc. But I thought it was always really cute because he was all cute and excited about it. And then freaking Mike Wazowski takes it and throws it.
That's very mean.
But he throws it at Sully because Sully's being like selfish.
Oh, okay.
Only seeing like his way in mind.
I would like one though. I like those little, you know, you go to Carnival.
Yeah.
Get a snow cone.
You know, we have a place up here recently that opened, and the place is always packed.
Of snow cone?
It's like shaved ice. Yeah.
Dang, I'm jealous. I want one.
It's like right down the road. We'll have to do like a little trip there one day.
Okay, as long as I don't have to wait more than 10 minutes.
A little Fright or Flight trip.
Now, the freezer room is scary. I don't like being cold.
I don't like being cold.
I do like being cold. I like my room to be so cold where I need a blanket because I like wearing a blanket.
We use a weighted blanket on top of our.
Weighted blankets are great.
They are great, especially for anxiety. Like,
but this girl, she freezes, like literally.
Literally.
Turns
layers and layers of ice over her naked body.
And then when he goes to touch her, it kind of, the ice cracks a little bit in her face.
I wonder like what that would do for her. Like, would that make her like also like her body? Her
I don't know. I mean, we've both seen a lot of scenes like that, right?
Yeah.
Where like somebody turns to ice and then they get pushed over, or somebody turns to stone and then they get like broken apart.
So in my brain, I'm like, maybe that's like one of those things where it's just like my biggest fear for that. Like, I would go to be like to touch it, and then they would just like their head would fall off or something.
I would try to avoid touching it. Yeah, keep them cold and steady. You know.
But I mean, like Olaf says, everyone needs like warm hugs. So maybe all I need is a warm hug to heal. That's
really morbid, if I'm being honest, right?
Yeah.
Did you watch Frozen too?
I did. I did not watch it all the way. But you know what? You know what? That would be messed up though, because she's naked and there's also no consent there for the hug. So let's nip that in the bud, especially because she can't hug back. So weird.
Well, I mean, they do say like body heat is like if you get stranded out in the Yucatan, like you're supposed to like. I don't even know. I know you're supposed to hug and cuddle, but you might getting naked and cuddling might be good too, because apparently there's something about like body heat transferring or something like that. Have you ever heard about that?
So they actually do something like that in the movie The Twilight Saga Eclipse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
But it's Jacob Black.
I used to watch a lot of I Shouldn't Be Alive, or just a lot of like survival shows.
I would never survive anything.
Oh, me neither. But the harrowing things these people go through, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, and I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, so if I'm ever stranded in this hard desert, I know exactly what I'll do now.
You know what's funny is sometimes like I'll watch some of those kinds of shows and I'm like, fucking idiot, like watching the show.
What?
Not exactly, but like you know,
Okay.
you're watching things like in your privileged like setting that you're
at
in,
home
like
with your
eating
air conditioning,
popcorn, eating snacks or
Yeah.
something. You're like, what an idiot! Why would you do that? I would never do it that way. I'm
You
like,
moron.
as if we know what we would do in that situation.
We'd be just as screwed, if not worse.
It's just funny because it's such a privileged mindset, but it's so funny that people do that.
Yeah.
It's also like true crime things. I mean, you see memes about it all the time. People were like, and they left like fingerprints all over the body, and they're like, dummy, what a bitch, what a dumb bitch. Like,
Yeah.
I would do that better. Like, okay,
Get
is
outta
this a
here.
competition?
Yeah, what are you trying to prove
What
here,
are we
buddy?
What are we trying
Yeah.
to prove in general?
This second scene we get, the second trap that Jeff has to go through, features a judge, who was supposed to give a harsher sentence that they gave.
Yeah.
He is kind of tied up at the bottom of like this big, huge vat.
Oh man, this scene was disgusting.
Yeah, so he's like on his back at the bottom of this huge barrel, and then a bunch of pigs from the top of the ceiling start rotating in.
They're dead as pigs.
They're dead?
Like, they are gross. They look old. They probably are stinky. I imagine they're probably
You see
the
those
stinkiest.
maggots on him?
I did not.
They had maggots on them, and then they
Ew.
drop into like this, you know, like I don't know what would you call this machine?
Like it's not a meat grinder.
It's like a meat shredder. Like it just like demolishes the pig carcasses into this like sewage. Like this just destroys them into this liquid that is then dumped into the barrel that he's tied to the bottom of.
Yeah, it just
Like, on
shoots
his
out
back.
every time that they're being like ground up. That liquid is shooting out simultaneously into the vat where the judge is being held down, and then it gets full to the point where it's like right above his mouth.
He can barely breathe.
Oh my! It makes me like want to like I'm like physically wanting to gag the whole time. I'm like,
And it's not like it's dripping into the vat either. It's like just like full throttle spewing onto like his
organs,
face.
everything. Like it's disgusting.
Now I will say the other side of this trap. I think this is one of the hardest in the Saw franchise because I, Geraldine, am a very sentimental person.
Me too. I am a very okay. Like I always tell people, like, you know, I did grow up in a hoarder house at some point in my life, and I understood why, because it's hard to let go of things, and I attach sentiment to every item in my life. I keep sometimes receipts from like trips because I'm like, oh, this is where I went to this trip. And it was the first place that I traveled to on that trip. Why do I do that? Because there's no real sentimental meaning behind it, but I attach that sentimental meaning.
I'm the same way. Growing up, I didn't have a house, of course, but I had my own room, and I would just keep a bunch of junk. And my room was messy, super messy with stuff that like I should throw away. Every once in a while, my mom would come into our room and be like, "Okay, kids, like it's time to throw away all the toys that you don't want anymore."
That was the hardest thing for me as a kid.
I would cry.
Me too. My mom would be like, "You never wear this outfit. You never wear this." But I just would. I would feel.
Need it. I need to keep it.
I would feel so bad letting go of things.
Yeah.
But now as an adult, I'm a little bit different. Where I'm like, I have to like literally like hold myself accountable. I'm like, Geraldine, have we worn this in the last year? No. Are we actually going to wear it in this next year? Probably not. Give it to somebody who could benefit from the clothing.
That's a smart
or something
way,
like that.
yeah.
Like, so I literally have
But
to
it's
like.
just so hard.
It's so hard.
And Jeff here, I mean, he's obsessed, and the only way to save this judge is to incinerate all the precious things that his child left behind, including that little toy pig
That's
from the
kind
beginning
of
of
a
the movie.
sick thing for them to do.
It is super sick. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't know if I would be able to do it. Like, to save this man who, like, didn't give any time to the person who killed my son.
Yeah.
And to free him, I need to, like, press a button that incinerates all my kids, like toys and all this stuff.
Why can't it just be a button to, like, just stop this? Like, if you want to save him, just stop the pigs. Like, why can't we just do something like that? Like, I'm not trying to burn my shit.
And like I said, I don't know if I would have been able to do it. And this one was, like, I like this one because it has so much, like, it's not just gory. It, like, has an emotional resonance aspect to the trap.
Yeah, because, like, the other one, the woman is pleading, and she's like, I'm sorry, I should have done more. I'm so sorry. And he actually does try to save her, but he just runs out of time, simply.
Yeah.
And so then she dies. But then also by the time that he tries to go save her anyway, she, like, freezes to death anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, there was a time limit there that he just did not meet. Right. But this one, like you're literally witnessing this person like get like the water get higher and well, not even water, like you just notice this disgusting sewage of stuff get higher and higher, and he's not able to breathe, and he would not be able to breathe unless you incinerate your dead kids' belongings.
Yeah, that's so sad. Bozeman described this scene as the hardest one to film, explaining that they had to rush and it involving so many moving parts. The pig carcasses were props. They were made out of foam, rubber, and latex.
Very cool.
But they had live disinfected maggots attached with honey. So the maggots were real.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a lot. And also, I don't know if you know this, Tobin Bell has gone on record saying this is his favorite trap.
Really?
He didn't give any reasoning, but apparently out of all the saw traps, this one is his personal favorite.
I mean, it's the toughest.
It's disgusting, too.
It's the toughest, the most disgusting. I mean, somebody like the judge. I mean, and we deal with this all the time. In general, there's another parallel to like the criminal justice system that we live in, where judges now don't give harsh punishment to the people who need it, and then there's like this big injustice towards like especially different races where they will get way harsher punishments as well.
Yeah, it's messed up. I mean, you see it a lot with like people with money or celebrities or like or like when the crimes are like higher level crimes, which doesn't make sense. I think it's kind of backwards. But then you'll go to prison for a long time for like a weed charge that turns into a different charge, like something happens in prison or something.
I mean, there's so many people
suddenly you're in prison for life.
There's so many people who are probably on like death row still who were wrongfully convicted.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is so sad, and I'm definitely not a fan of that. So I mean, that's always another big thing where you're like, do I save this person who's behind a lot of like bad things sometimes?
Yeah. The third trap that Jeff comes across is, I think, I mean, it's really messed up.
This is so intrinsically layered, for one, and for two, apart from it being challenging as like compared to the previous trap, the pig vat, it is such a gnarly trap. It is painful. It is sad. It is like quite literally twisted.
It is twisted. Yeah, that's a really good word, unfortunately. It's called the rack.
Yeah.
And after all this, Jeff finally gets to like in the same room of the person he wanted to seek vengeance for this whole time.
Yeah.
The person that killed his son.
Man.
And he is tied up in this just gears, mechanical contraption that will slowly twist every arm, leg, and eventually head. It just completely, like, if Jeff doesn't get the key in time, it just starts slowly rotating this man's appendages and his head.
Let me tell you, this actor who is in this trap does an outstanding job. He is like being tormented. He is afraid. He is like traumatized right now. He's screaming, crying, yelling for help. He does such an amazing job, even down to like when everything starts twisting. Oh my God.
Yes.
Such good praise for this actor because like even though his screen time is like small,
he did a great job.
Amazing. Like literally I felt sick to my tummy watching him go
and he's
through
young.
This. He's young.
He's really young. Like I think he's like in medical school or something. Mm-hmm. And you know, this awful accident happened where he, you know, ran over and killed a child. And from the the flashbacks that you see, it looks like it was an accident.
It was an accident.
Just comes out in front of you, and then he looked like he had a lot of remorse too.
And I'm sure, like, him, like, running off was just, you know, a quick reaction. It probably wasn't anything to do with like that, but like also to face something terrible that you've done and you didn't mean to do. It's probably very hard. I mean, I don't know what. You know, like, I feel bad when I hit, like, animals. Like, I would,
of course, yeah.
Like, even if they're, like, just animals in the wild or anything. But imagining, like, you hit somebody's, like, actual pet and then you have to go up to their door, I don't know that I could do that.
Yeah.
I would have to. And ultimately, I'd feel like a terrible person if I didn't. So I'd probably
and
make
you can see
myself.
it on him, you know? And Jeff has to, like, not only forgive him, but, like, take a piece of himself, too. To save him, because to get the key, he has to reach in and grab it, but when he pulls it, he has to take a shotgun blast. And it's really hard.
Yeah.
But he eventually, decides to do it. But by the time he gets to save Timothy, the killer, who killed his son by accident, it was a little too late.
Literally, that was the head twist. Oh.
Yeah, and he held him and was saying, "I forgive you, I forgive you."
Like, there's so many things in this world, and when people do bad things, like, I think that people are deserving of forgiveness. They're deserving of, like, chances in this life, for sure. I mean, we all make mistakes. I mean, how would we feel if nobody ever forgave us or ever gave us chances again? Like, nobody would live a life after that. Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, yes, he did a terrible thing, but, like, it was an accident, and I'm sure it's also, like, emotionally and mentally tormented him
this whole time.
He's
already been punished, and he already served his time.
Yeah, he did serve his time as well. And even though it's a sentencing that maybe Jeff doesn't think is worthy, but...
Well, the judge tells him something that I think is very true, and towards this theme of, like, forgiving and letting go, that the judge says to him after Jeff saves him, like, "Hey, I just want to tell you, it doesn't matter if I gave him 5, 10, 100 years, that none of it would make you feel better.
It really wouldn't.
It's just, none of it is going to bring your kid back."
Yeah.
Like, and this, like, seeking of vengeance and revenge is just not beneficial to you at all. Like, it's harder, in my opinion, to forgive than to, like, stay in the state of just, like, your mind being clouded and you being angry all the time. It's bad for yourself, and it's bad for all the other people around you.
I would much rather, if something, like, tragic happened to me in my, like, or something like that, I would much rather somebody keep the memory of the person alive than to, be sad all the time for my loss. I mean, yes, I do want people to be sad a little bit, be like, she was cool, now she's not around, now I'm sad about it. Yeah, do that, but, like, do not beat yourself up, because, like, we live so many lives. I'm a big fan in the theory of, like, reincarnation. We have multiple lives in this life, so I'm gonna try to come back as a cat in my next one.
That'd be cool.
Cats live the best fucking life, and so do dogs.
I think it depends.
Well, it depends on the person and the
so
owner.
Do what?
And so do dogs. Cats and dogs.
Oh, you said dogs. I thought you said, and so do hawks. And I was like, well, that's kind of opposing each other.
I don't want to have to fly.
Because hawks will go down and swoop, and they'll use their talons to get little animals like cats and dogs.
I couldn't do that.
And they eat your pets.
I'd be a vegetarian hawk.
What?
I wouldn't die. I know I would die. I would die, essentially. Yeah, I wouldn't.
No sense. You could be a vegetarian person.
I don't want to be a vegetarian person.
But you'd be a vegetarian hawk?
Yeah, I don't. I am not the one hunting animals in my life now. That is a big corporation above me.
Yeah.
I just simply eat
participate.
But I don't participate, like, in the idea that, like,
I'm but you're like supporting the hunting,
I'm just, sir. I'm surviving. I eat.
But you can eat plants and survive.
It's not.
We're making the case here on the podcast.
It's not as filling,
Fair enough. I think this movie features some of, like, the craziest traps.
It really does. It's so crazy because
they're so gnarly.
There are two that my brain keeps going to that I would have a really hard time ranking if I had to be honest. But as we were going through these layers of traps that Jeff has to go through, my brain was like, they mentioned, like, to him, like, his daughter and the kid's mom, and I was like, I wonder, like, what happened to her, because he mentioned that to his daughter.
Yeah, like, what would your mom think if she saw us like this?
Yeah, and I was like, did the mom die too or something? That would make sense why he's so, like, messed up. No.
Well, here's the twist.
My brain was like, no, once I realized what was happening.
Yeah?
Yes.
It's so gnarly because Geraldine, like, here's the thing. I don't know if you caught on it the same way. Earlier in the film, when we saw Lynn, we all thought she was leaving her husband. Yeah. But because he said, I want a divorce.
Yeah.
But he didn't mean he wants a divorce from her. He wants Lynn to get divorced from Jeff so that she could be with him instead.
Whoa, I did not catch that.
Yes, and so, like, this whole time you think they're together, but really the married couple is Jeff and Lynn. But it's a little too late, because when Jeff finally comes and finishes his task she gets shot by Amanda. And here is there's a part where like the A and the B line cross. Like this whole movie, we've been talking about Jeff and his tribulations.
And the forgiveness.
On the other side, the big reveal is that this has all been for Amanda.
A final test for Amanda.
Yes, because Jigsaw learns that she's been rigging all the traps to make it unsurvivable. He's learned that she doesn't believe in his philosophy, that all these people should die anyway. They don't deserve a second chance.
Why he said, I hate murderers.
Yeah, he was talking about Amanda. And this whole thing was the last chance, you know, like Amanda's been getting jealous of Lynn for how John's been treating her. Amanda is getting upset with her, and she comes to the point of pulling out her gun, and he is pleading with her, Amanda, if you kill her, like all of our lives are thrown away. Mm-hmm. Like this is your test to like learn restraint. And she doesn't follow through. She shoots Lynn right as her husband, Jeff, walks into the room.
And then he goes boom.
And shoots Amanda. And that's where the big reveal is like, hey, this has been a test for you the whole time. And we see scenes from the past where we thought Jigsaw was talking to Lynn.
Yeah.
But Jigsaw was actually referencing Amanda.
He was looking right at her. And Amanda was just like...
Yeah.
Like being all smug about it. Like, yeah, Lynn. Yeah. This is for you. You're being tested. This is a game.
Yeah.
Like, and little does she know he's talking to you.
He's talking to you, and
oh man.
And you know, Jeff gets his final opportunity. Like, have you learned anything? And for a second, it looks like he did, and he's like, I forgive you. And then pulls out this giant saw and slices Jigsaw's throat.
I was so mad.
Were you?
I was so mad because I was like, now your wife's dead, dummy.
Because he didn't know that if he dies, the collar wrapped around Lynn's neck explodes because it's tied to his heart monitor.
But before Jigsaw even dies, he's like, 4 lives would be lost.
Yes.
Because he also has his daughter somewhere.
Yes, that's a big reveal. If he forgave him, it would have all been fine.
Oh,
but apparently
God.
not. He doesn't forgive. He didn't learn anything.
It's like if people actually listened to John Kramer.
Yeah, every movie is just like... And Eric Matthews just sat down and his son, he wasn't a safe place,
Like, jeez.
Yeah, and it's just so... Also, the shotgun collar going off, oh my God. She was eviscerated.
Oh, yeah, she's
by the
gone.
collar. She was gone.
Dunzo.
Yeah.
No coming back. She's gone.
Yeah. And so is Jigsaw. We see him, pass away. And he always has, he prepared a tape.
Because he knew. It's almost like he knew.
Yeah, he is all... Because he mentions... I like the phrase he uses. Is he likes metaphors a lot. He's like, oh, I recorded this as an insurance policy and I'm cashing in or something like that. I really like his sense of humor sometimes.
Yeah, the sense of humor is very fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of... Yeah, it's super fun.
So if you like that, I know for a fact you're going to enjoy Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah?
Because he's corny as fuck.
Okay, I'm
You'll
excited.
enjoy it. But... At the same time, there's so much happening, but we get to see a lot of the flashbacks to the previous films, and I loved that because they tied it all in so well, and we get to see the dynamic between John and Amanda, and that's why I'm saying their dynamic is a little confusing.
Fair enough, yeah, because she does get jealous. I mean, in this movie, we also get some flashbacks of John Kramer and a paramour that he used to be involved in, and just somebody...
I believe the credits said her name was Jill.
Jill, that's right.
So I'm assuming we'll meet her
going
into the later films, I'm assuming, because why would they introduce a character that we're not going to meet?
Because we didn't see her a lot in this movie, just very, very briefly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Saw 3. That's where it ends. And like I said, it's my favorite film in the Saw franchise. Yeah. And that's before knowing. When I was going into this movie, I had that in mind. I was like, okay, this is the movie I remember to be my favorite. I was kind of worried because I was like, does this movie still hold up? Now that I'm watching it as an adult, and now I'm happy to report it does. I love this movie. It takes everything I love about the Saw franchise and just makes all the charming and endearing aspects, the underdog aspects I've always loved, and really executed it, in my opinion, 100% as far as how gruesome everything is, the traps, character development, and this one has an added like key of like being a lot more emotional and character driven as opposed to all the other ones. And like you said, it's like a full circle.
You really root for all of the people to survive, and you root for everyone to be happy in the end. Like you root for John to survive and like to get the care that he needs. You root for Amanda to just relax a little bit and trust that, you know, John has a plan. And you root for Lynn because she's a professional and she knows what she's doing. And you just root that Jeff is going to forgive and start moving forward, because without that aspect, how is he going to be a provider for his family at all?
That's right. Okay, Geraldine. So let's talk about the traps. Let's decide what our favorite one for the movie is. There are a few traps. We're going to decide on which one's our favorite for this movie.
Okay.
Our options are the classroom trap, the angel trap, the shotgun collar, the freezer room, the pig vat, and the rack.
So remind me which one the angel trap is. Is that the ribcage one?
Yes, that's a ribcage one.
That's a gnarly name
because
for that
it rips
too.
it out. It makes you look like an angel or whatever.
That's a gnarly one. Oh man. Okay. This is tough because
it is tough because a lot of them are like insane. I think for me it has to be between the ones that Jeff goes through. Yeah. Between like the pig vat, the freezer room, and the rack.
The rack. I'm gonna go ahead and opt out of the freezer room, even though it's cool. It's not as gnarly as the other two.
The other two are so intense. So here's my argument for the two of them.
Okay.
The rack, oh my gosh. It's just, you saw his legs as they were twisting. You know, his torso was still, it was just his appendages that were moving. So like you saw like as his leg was twisting, the bone like snapped out. And same thing with his arms. I mean, have you ever gotten an Indian burn? You know what I mean?
Yes, growing up, that was the worst thing in the world.
This is like times 200. And so, like, honestly, I'm glad that they have the neck part. That would be the relief, you know, once your neck finally cracks your dad. But the argument for the pig vat, I gotta say, is just that he has to like incinerate all his kids' toys, and that emotional aspect to it kind of, you know, has my heart a little bit. So I'm struggling between the two. What do you think?
So while that one has that emotional aspect, which I really appreciate because it makes it that much more challenging to go through, I still think between all of the traps, the rack is the hardest to watch.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. And it's sad too.
Yeah, because again, this is a young person who was probably already mentally and emotionally tormented himself for what he's like done to that kid, and the fact that he is just able to move on with his life. He probably feels bad even though he had to do the time for it, which also serving time is probably not, you know, for the weak. Like it's probably not easy to do. And then now he's being reminded, he's being put back in this place and facing the person that he ran away from. On top of that, he's getting physically tormented now. And
Jeff's like final I forgive you wells of pain is just so...
And it was too little too late, especially when he was finally dead. Like, it's like he's just wanted him to do it, but at the hands of somebody else.
Okay, you know, I think you've convinced me. I think the rack is the one we're going to be picking from this movie.
I really like that. Yeah.
Now, where do you think it lists on our other two? Our ranking so far is number 1, the needle pit from Saw 2, and number 2, the reverse bear trap from the original film.
I think it needs to go probably number 2. I think.
You think number 2?
I think because the needle pit.
You like the needle pit better?
The needle pit. Because that one was layered as well, because it wasn't meant for her. It was meant for Xavier, and he just threw like a former addict right in that needle pit.
I just like this movie so much, and I feel like the emotional resonance of the rack hits a little harder than the needle pit.
You're probably right. You convinced me.
Okay.
So I think we're going number 1 for that?
Yeah, number 1 is the rack. Number 2, the needle pit. Number 3, the reverse bear trap. Isn't it crazy? Because we really like the reverse bear trap.
Yeah.
And it's now 3.
You know, we could still do an honorable mention, like when we compile this final list. Yeah. We could still do an honorable mention for the pig vat because it's still dope.
It is gnarly. Yeah.
It is so gnarly.
It's so disgusting.
And it's just because, I don't know, just because like whenever I think of the traps, I really don't look to them for their what they convey emotionally in me.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking more like for how gruesome it
Yeah.
is as well. And
But
even
the
though
wreck is gruesome.
even though like the pig fat is disgusting and grotesque because of all of the innards of the pigs, this one was just so much more like, oh my God, who thought of this?
Yeah, it's just horrifying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't want to find yourself in that thing.
But also like I'm kind of like low key jealous. If I could turn my head around like that.
Why?
Just because
would
like
you?
I crack my neck, you know?
Do you?
Yeah. And like watching it, I'm like, that's like the ultimate neck crack. I need it.
I'm not the guy. I can't really crack my neck very well.
But man, what a great movie.
Okay, well, a great movie that we have to rank now.
Okay.
Now, previously, we have Saw 2 as our first place and the original Saw movie in our second
All right.
place. As I said before, this is my favorite Saw movie. And
Okay.
I have to give it a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
I love this movie so much. It's just so, it's like the best version of like everything I love from Saw from the previous two. It's like worked out in the best way possible. That fits all my interests as far as like emotional resonance and being sad. I'm a sad guy. I like being sad. This movie makes me sad. It makes me think like the other two movies, but like in a whole deeper dimension, like a deeper way. And it's not just conceptual like the first one. It's not just as gnarly as the second one with a house full of traps and also like that twist ending where, oh, it's the camera. It's been on a delay this whole time.
Right.
It doesn't have that, but it does have heart. And that's what I appreciate in a movie. So I give this one a 10 out of 10.
You know what?
What's up?
I think you're going to be really excited about this. This was also a 10 out of 10 for me. I
love to hear it.
It was just so, there were so many good things that were happening. It's like the traps, they took it another level. It was crazy. The traps were so fun. They were sad. They make you think. You feel for the characters. You root for them, even though they're tragically flawed. All of them. Like you also like hope that there's a way out, and you hope that everyone can be friends. There's a happy ending for everyone.
But there ain't. It's a tragic story.
It's a tragic story, and also another cool thing about it all is that. Like, we know that there's more coming, and of course, Jigsaw has again thought about everything. So the big reveal at the end is like, "Hey, Jeff, I also have your daughter."
Yeah.
And you're like, "No."
What now? Like, he's dead. It ain't over yet.
So crazy. So I mean, like, it's so like thought out and stuff. So it's just as a person who enjoys a really good story. Everything was full circle.
Yeah,
they like linked.
You eat that stuff up.
Oh my God, I do. They linked everything up, even to the point where like John Kramer's doing his makeup for the first film, and then lays down, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is just a like whatever,
that slows my breathing,
slows my heart rate or something." And then he pours like fake blood on the floor, or like actual like pig blood. I don't know what it is, like just blood on the ground. It makes it actually look like. Everything was so thought out and so cool, and you get to see all the cool puzzle
behind
pieces.
The scenes almost.
Literally the puzzle pieces like being put in place, and you're like, what? So cool. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It's really, really cool.
He deserves his name, right? For all that Jigsaw.
Literally. Yeah. And he's like, oh, that's not what I call myself. Yeah. And I'm like, whatever, dude. You think about all these things. Which is so cool to me, because having not seen any of these movies before, like, it makes me more and more excited the further that we get into the series.
It's super fun.
And, like, I think if I had watched them prior, like earlier in the earlier years, I don't think I would have been able to appreciate it the way that I appreciate it now. Yeah. And I don't understand why, but I feel like I'm meant to watch this.
It's hitting you at the right time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. I'm super excited and happy with how things have been going with this season. I hope everybody else has been enjoying it too. It's so crazy. We enjoyed the first movie, and it's last place currently in all the movies we've done, because they've been getting better and better and better.
It's like they just like raise the stakes each film, and so I'm very excited to like lead up to the newest one that will come out this month. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate you. Go follow us at Fright Flight Pod on Instagram, TikTok, any social media. Give us 5 stars on Instagram, iTunes.
All of the things. We have a YouTube channel where if you don't want to just listen to us talk the whole time, you can watch us talk, watch our fun facial expressions, see these beautiful faces, and maybe get to know us a little bit better.
Yeah.
Watch previous episodes, that kind of thing, because they don't go away. We keep them around forever and ever and ever.
We've done Scream, we've done Evil Dead, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
We've done a couple of little off-season episodes. Our most recent one before we delved into this one was the Haunted Mansion,
That's right.
off-season episode where we compare 2003 versus 2023 with our sister podcast co-host, Bailey. It was really fun.
Yes.
So you should go watch them.
Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for checking us out. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Fright or Flight, a Live Oaks Village production. This episode was hosted by Geraldine Johnson and Saul Alberto Arzmendi Ochoa. Editing and music composition by Saul Alberto Arzmendi Ochoa.